Morning, Coach.
How you doing?
Afternoon, whatever.
Yep.
Just comment on that 108-yard drive. The other in the third quarter to steal first drive of that, the significance of that, and how difficult is it to put a drive together like that to score points?
Yeah, so we had one 103 and 108 or whatever. I think a long time ago, the challenge for our group would have been, as the offense took the field, they would have just saw this massive hole they had to dig out. Whereas I think now the group we have and we've had for quite some time, the mindset is just, that's just their starting point. Oh, well, get going. And if they execute at a good level, they have the possibility, the opportunity to march down the field. So, we had some bigger plays on that drive too, but I think it starts with, once again, the mindset as they take the field. That's just no big deal that they're backed up, right? They're not worried about. They don't take the field saying, "Hey, we're going to score a touchdown here." They take the field saying, "Oh well, let's get this thing started."
What went into changing that mindset, do you think? How did it happen?
Well, if you look at our roster from the first 2 years to now, there's only a couple guys left.
Yeah.
Right? Unfortunately, I don't want it to be that way, but we just have a great core of veteran leadership. So the young guys feed off that. These guys take the field and just, here we go, and that's the way it is.
What are your overall thoughts on your defense game one?
Yeah, good. Give up some explosions, but it's all stuff that they recognize and they can certainly fix. I liked a lot of what they did. I think they were pretty damn good.
What are Reetta Cran's strongest traits?
There's a long list.
Yeah.
There's a few that obviously stand out. He's extremely intelligent, right? He can think the game at a very high level and process it at speed at a very high level. He communicates well. I think the part that I probably like the best is his, angry grit. He wants to play defense the right way, and he's gritty about it. Yeah.
Switching to the other side of the ball, what kind of year do you expect out of Zach?
Yeah, great year.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the best. Why would we expect anything less?
How has he kind of morphed in the last 5 years that you've been with him now? How's he changed, if at all?
Yeah, that's a great question for him. I'm sure he wouldn't want me saying that because that just adds another question onto his plate. I don't know that he has changed a lot. I think that's what makes it special, is he's been who he is for a long time. And he knows that. He knows exactly who he is. And he brings a lot of leadership just through his actions too. But I don't know that he's changed a whole hell of a lot.
Sometimes as guys get older, they get busier and have families, and it's just harder for them to balance it all. How do you see him handling all that?
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No drop off in study habit or anything like that.
No. Yeah, I'm not with him 24 hours a day, So he gets it done at a very high level, and I don't think everybody would see all this, but I love the way he is with his family. Once again, I'm not with him all the time or anything like that, but I think he has a lot of fun with his kids and being a dad and a husband, and I think he does it the right way.
Yeah. One last quick one on Sergio. hit a couple long ones again, boinked an extra point off the upright. What do you see in his leg at this stage of his career?
Yeah, he's good. He manages it well. I think he knows exactly, you know, when you're younger, you might not know exactly what you need through your weekly process. I think he knows exactly what he needs.
Mike, what are those moments like for you when you get to see a guy like Colin Cornelson, for example, a local kid, Bison, a guy who, you know, had some bad luck with injuries, I guess, you know, make his debut for his hometown team as a pro?
Yeah, it's exciting to, you know, when you get him back in camp and you see that he's improved. Once again, I had the benefit of watching him at the University of Manitoba, watch him play, see, you know, how good he was playing during their season, and excited for his opportunity when he comes back to camp. And then he shows it to everybody else, not just me sitting in the stands watching him.
What do you like about his game? Obviously, you guys have had some other maybe a veteran option you could have went with, but you know, what was it about Colin that you like?
Yeah, I think he, you know, he's got the ability to be stout enough in the run and also rush the passer at a pretty high level. So from that spot, from inside, he's very athletic on special teams. He's able to do some stuff for us that a lot of guys his size can't do, just because he's got good feet. He's athletic enough in that regard.
In speaking with Jason today, and obviously watching the game that he called under the circumstances, you know, losing Brady, not having Zach, that's not a slight on Chris, but not having Zach, who's been out there for a long time for you guys. He has a lot of confidence. He looks like a guy who's been, you know, calling plays for you guys for a while. What can you just say about his confidence, just maybe what you've learned about him?
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, everything else. The more work you put into writing the test, the easier the test seems. So he puts in a ton of work. He's highly organized. He's got a structure in his head that he follows, a process that he follows. And he gets the work done. So then, I'm not saying the game calling is easy, but that's what you go through practice. That's what you call. It's when you script practice and how you call things in practice and how you study the opponent's film and all those things. It all adds up to this call sheet and the way you call the game. So once again, I think the easiest answer just goes back to anybody who's writing a test. If you put a ton of work in, you know, you're usually not too nervous when you have to sit down and write the exam.
Jason putting in a bunch of work like that, what does that look like? Do you have an example of something that he does, or?
Yeah, I mean, he's always been that guy. I'll give you an example. When he was position coach, he'd be in the stadium all hours of the night watching clinic tape, watching other people talk about coaching and systems and those things, always taking more information. And he's got a staff now that he relies on and the players that he relies on for information. And he just happens to be extremely organized and efficient in the way he processes all that information. Right, but he takes in a lot of information. You know, when he watches film, it's pretty quick that he sees what's going on and on to the next. So he takes in a fair volume of info too. It seems like.
So it seems like, you know, with that work ethic, you mentioned him watching these clinic tapes at all hours of the night. I mean, I take it there was early signs early on in his time here that, you know, you thought that one day this could be a guy that could call plays in this league.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to. I haven't been a play caller, so I'm not trying to diminish that idea. I just look at it the same way I'd look at writing any test. If you put in the work, you've got confidence to do it. You know, the more information that guys take in, the more response they have from their gut. You know, gut instinct is really about how much volume of information you can take in and process and come to an answer. Right? I mean, that's the sort of truth of it, right? So he takes in a lot of information.
Mike, what have you seen in Mike Miller, you know, from last year when he made the transition from playing career to special teams coordinator to now year two?
Yeah, he's certainly more sure of himself, confident. I think he's got a good routine and process, and he's got the framework really well developed. So I think should be easier on him. Once again, having been in that exact same spot. The first year, even trying to figure out how to draw play was not easy. Now it's, I think that workload has just become that much easier, that it's now about looking at the film and seeing what teams are doing and how do you fight them, So, I mean, and then the best part is the character, the attitude is not changing at all, right? He doesn't think he's got it. He just sticks to what he does best, and that's the players can feel how badly he wants them to do well.
Fans were elated with how the special teams played in the first game of this season. How did you see it?
Yeah, I thought they did really well. Elation's probably not a word I use, but
Well, yeah, I think fans have anxieties, right? And then to see the cover teams create a takeaway, to see the return game have a great average and run with a lot of violence in Trey Vavel. Reassuring to get a performance like that, or I know maybe that's not the
Expected.
word you'd like.
expected.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.